Hi, I'm North.
And I'm Evie.
Well,
This is our interview.
for psych disorders.
Yay!
Okay, so starting off, have you ever struggled with your mental health?
Yes, definitely.
Did you ever receive an official diagnosis for any disorder?
um, Physically, PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, and then MDD, major depressive disorder, and then GAD, generalized anxiety disorder.
Mm-hmm. Are there any disorders you believe that you've had, even if you were not diagnosed by a professional?
Um, hmm. I used to think I had a more intense anxiety disorder. I After I kind of experienced a sexual assault in high school, I experienced a lot of like symptoms that were aligned with like PTSD, and wasn't enough to be diagnosed, but my therapist said that she had noticed that.
Mm.
But,
Do you still believe that you have all the disorders you've listed right now?
Probably not anxiety disorder. GAD, not anymore. But I also take anxiety medication. I also take Cymbalta, so for depression. But I would say the depression probably still persists, but not the anxiety so much.
How have these disorders affected you?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Basically, the anxiety, especially in high school, it was really hard to make friends. And then when I came to college, it was difficult, but I was kind of forced out of this like box and, made myself start talking to people. And I felt once I felt familiar with it and like was kind of used to putting myself into like anxiety inducing situations, I started to get like the hang of it. And then of course like met you, I met a lot of friends, and
And there's always that portion of like avoidance making it worse
yeah.
and facing it making it go away, basically.
And then uh for you said how's the disorder affected me? And then major depressive disorder, I wasn't sure. I've had to do like, well, getting off track, but my therapist has kind of seen a lot of my different phases throughout my life, and especially with the loss of my mom back when I was 14, it was a lot to experience as a child, and it obviously affected me much differently than I thought, and I think still continues to. And I also think like we have a history of depression in my family, and like both of my grandparents were on the same SSRI that I'm on right now, but definitely, I don't know, it's definitely changed me. I've had to become like better care of myself, because especially with depression, it's so easily to get like, like depression room, or like forget to feed yourself, or like get up and change your clothes because you kind of just don't want to move. You just want to lay and be sad.
I hear you. What are all the symptoms you've noticed or experienced? And for each one, what was that like for you? And
Definitely.
I guess just like how has that presented?
Like I forget how do you pronounce it. Anhedonia? Is that what it is?
Anhedonia.
Yeah. The loss of obviously like everything I've been interested in. I used to be super big into like Harry Potter and like different video games, and then all this stuff, and then I kind of stopped after the loss of my mom, and obviously like grief can make you do certain stuff like that as well, but it was definitely the depression, and I also was suicidal as a child before any of that, which leads me to believe that my major depressive disorder is more of a chemical imbalance that pre-existed before all of the death and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely have noticed that. And then sleeplessness or hyper insomnia, So
insomnia and hypersomnia.
Yeah, hypersomnia. So either like I'm sleeping all the time, or I get, I mean, you've seen firsthand, like 3 days no sleep psychosis. Like, which is also, doesn't help with premenstrual dysphoric disorder, but it sucks. It impedes my
Your daily
life.
functioning.
Yeah, I can't, like, you can't drive like that. I mean, so there are times when I have to choose, like, am I going to school? Am I sucking it up and having 2 coffees and a Red Bull and going to class? Or am I, going to stay home? So, but, yeah.
When did those symptoms first start?
My depressive symptoms started when I was 12. And then, like, suicidal ideation started, like, 12, 13. And then, like, major, like 6-month periods of depression started kind of after that, like, age 14, and then I've just kind of had them ever since. And then anxiety stuff, definitely more in high school. I would say, like, 15, 16, around when I, first broke up with my boyfriend, around, like, that area.
When did they become the most severe?
I would say after the loss of my mom. So, like, 14. And then, like, 14, 15.
How long did you have them before you saw someone or got diagnosed?
I talked actually to my mom before she passed about seeing a counselor. And then she picked, like, a Christian counselor for me. And I don't, identify with the religion anymore, but I still see her. Her name's Cynthia. She's a very, like, good counselor. But what was the question again?
You're okay. How long did you have them before you saw someone?
Oh, yeah. So I'd say, like, same thing, like 12, 13.
Couple years.
Yeah. Like middle school.
Have the symptoms ever improved?
Yes. I feel like with age, I've taken a lot of it in stride, and I've, like, learned how to deal with it. And obviously, like, being medicated has helped. And right now I'm on, like, 60 milligrams, and then I think I'm taking, like, 20 of my anxiety medication. And then I'm also medicated for PMDD with 2 different types of birth control. A copper IUD and then, like, birth control pill. So a lot of it has helped, or a lot of it I've been able to manage, but there are still sometimes, like, especially, like, big life events, like recently, like, obviously my girlfriend broke up with me, and, like, a lot of that was hard to deal with. It was hard to juggle school and just, like, take care of myself. A lot of times, like, my roommate would have to be like, Addie. We'll just use her name.
Yeah.
Addie would be like, you'd be like, you gotta get up, you gotta go to school. Like, it'll be okay. And, yeah, but learned how to deal with a lot of it in my adulthood.
How has the disorder and these symptoms affected your ability to function?
It's caused some problems, but obviously, like, I've been able to manage it, but, like, the sleeplessness is difficult, and then, a lot of times when I do get depressed, I will either binge eat or I will not eat at all, and other times, especially, like, with the combination of premenstrual dysphoric disorder, like, I'll also, especially when I'm on, like, my period, often it's hard for me to, like, eat certain types of food. So, like, I have white shell mac and cheese that I will, if I'm sick of everything else, like, I eat that, and that's, like,
that's always
it's the only thing I can stomach, because it's just, like, God, it's hard. And then also I found that, like, when I am, like, kind of drowsy or upset in the morning, it kind of helps to, like, eat, like, I might have, like, a little sea salt taffy, or, like, I have, like, a little bag of watermelon Sour Patch Kids. Those are my favorite, and I'll, like, have a couple in the morning, and then it makes me, like feel better. I don't know if there's like any
A blood
science
sugar kind of.
behind that, but
What areas have been affected the most?
School and health. With my all the stuff that I've kind of got going on, it's hard to we mentioned it's hard to like take care of yourself and stuff like that. So I don't even think about stuff like exercising when I know that that would help even more. And that would be like best for me to get out, exercise, stuff like that. But when your body's not feeling very good, it's hard sometimes. But definitely when I do want to exercise, I like to get out. I like to walk and stuff like that. But what was the question again?
What areas have been affected the most?
Oh, yeah. Just a lot, I would say school, especially this year. And obviously, like, Alardi knows he'll see this video, but like, haven't done so hot. So it's been difficult. Yeah.
What treatments have you received, if any? And can you help me get a detailed picture of what treatment experience was like for you?
Definitely like behavioral therapy, because I used to have some behavioral kind of disorders. I wouldn't say like it was caused from the grief and loss of my mom. I would, you know, constantly swear at my dad. I wouldn't listen. I'd stay out at night. Like I would, which, you know, he was still super strict. So I would say that I still followed the majority of his rules, but like I would definitely get very loud and angry and I'd break things. So like cognitive behavioral therapy, and then also like trauma counseling, like grief counseling, stuff like that. And then obviously being medicated as well.
How has that affected your symptoms?
With the NDD, it has, I mean, my Cymbalta has worked wonders for me. A lot of people either like, my grandma has talked about like it kind of shutting off a lot of her emotions, but it's just helped me a lot just kind of get to the point where like, because when I was extremely in like the thick of my depression, like I was a threat to myself and others, and I was like thinking of ways to take my life every day, and now it's helped so much. Like I take everything for granted now, but like the fact that I am able to be motivated to see my friends and do my homework, and like the fact that I'm even like finishing out, you know, finals and stuff is a testament to, you know, me being able to try, and me of how far, or a testament to how kind of far I've come, because I've, you know, at some point I wouldn't have considered myself being able to like live this long. Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Did you feel like your healthcare professional was helpful?
I did. Yeah. There was some parts where like my mom, obviously she experienced like some intense religious psychosis, and it's hard because not a lot of people kind of talk about it, especially in Oklahoma, because it's just the norm to think that way. And as Cynthia's a Christian counselor, but she's been great, and she's kind of seen she's also openly accepted me as like a gay woman, and she'll ask, you know, what it's like, because she doesn't understand. She's not gay herself, and but she's definitely taken strides to like understand me and, you know, help me grow. And especially like I don't talk about this a lot, but I struggled a lot in high school with trichotillomania, to the point where like I looked like a monk, like a friar monk, like I was like bald on the top of my head. And she worked with me hours and hours. We did like workbooks and she bought me like bandanas for my hair. We put like Tabasco sauce on my fingers. Like we tried all these different things, and like she helped me through that. And obviously now I've got, you know, a full head of hair, which is crazy.
And you felt like she had a connection. You had a connection with her, and like she actually cared about you. And
I mean, if I'm probably gonna ask her to go to my graduation, stuff like that. So.
Have you ever been prescribed? We've talked about your medications, but can you tell me which ones and how they affected you, and if you've had any side effects?
I was on Prozac, and it caused some eczema to flare up. I went to the dermatologist for it, and they said it was like kind of related, kind of unrelated, because I had some like pre-existing like facial rash, just because like I wasn't it was from like acne and stuff like that. But the Prozac did cause some eczema to flare up, which stopped taking it. Was totally fine. And then on low, like, funnily enough, when I was on like a low dose of Prozac, that same time I felt some like emotional numbing, and kind of felt a little bit like a zombie, sort of.
Have you encountered any stigma, stereotypes, or negative assumptions about your disorder?
Absolutely. I mean, my dad is not the nicest man. He's, you know, great in some aspects, but he is constantly like, you're so lazy, you're not doing anything right, you know, you're a loser, a wash up, whatever. And I kind of get that assumption from that, and then my other family members as well, and from my sisters too. And it's hard to deal with, because for a long time nobody believed that I had depression or premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And after my mom passed, my dad started believing me even less, and it was just very hard because I had to seek both of those diagnoses by myself.
With no advocate for you.
As a minor. And, like, I had, you know, no authority to test myself, or to, you know, take these, like, mental screening stuff and for, like, depression or whatever else I could have. But, so I had to do my own research, and, you know, there's also lots of stigma around, like, self-diagnosing and stuff like that. But really, I mean, you kind of have to research and start looking yourself, because there's times where kind of no one's going to listen to you.
Can you describe any particularly difficult or frustrating misunderstandings others have had?
The same stuff, just like the laziness type thing. Or like, that I'm a crybaby, or I'm too emotional, that, you know, my friends start thinking that or partners start thinking that they're being my therapist, and like my emotions are too much for them, which, like, I understand I'm a very emotional person, but I'm sorry if, you know, you can't handle that. I think, especially this year, has made me reflect on the fact that I need to find people who do accept that.
Absolutely, because it really is on them to be able to accept you and handle that. If they're not up for that, then they're not worth being in your life.
Because I've handled it my whole life.
Yes, exactly. What do you wish more people understood about your disorders?
I wish more people understood, especially major depressive disorder. I wish people understood that it is a chemical imbalance. It can be, but like clinical depression, and, well, however, which way you want to put it, I mean, it can be something that affects you your whole life, and that there's just like something wrong in your brain that you can't control. And this is just a side note, but also with PMDD, which is not as obviously related to this course, but it is still like a dysphoric disorder. There is so much mental turmoil that comes with it, as well as physical. And I mean, I've people don't know what it is at all when I tell them. And like, even with trichotillomania, people are like, I've never heard of that before, you know?
And that one's pretty, like...
Yeah. I feel like you would have heard of that one maybe at some point through, like, some random psych thing, but, like, PMDD, like, very little people know about it, and 96% of women with PMDD also have autism. So, it is, like... And there's just so little research about it. And I learned also this morning that there's more research on male pattern baldness than there is on endometriosis, which is wild. But which makes me think just how little there is on PMDD. I mean, I've looked it up myself and it's just
pitiful.
Google is sparse. It's crazy. But yeah, that's all about that.
Is there any insight you'd like to share with others going through something similar?
I would say ask somebody, reach out, find a healthcare professional that you can talk to. Don't wait for your parents' permission because they're not going to give it to you. My dad never approved of me seeing a counselor. It was only because my mom that I got to see her. But even then, when I wasn't allowed to see her, I would see my middle school counselor. And that's especially like if I had to say, like, if you were still in, this would be advice I'd give to someone who's still, you know, like in middle or high school, but I would definitely say go see your counselor. It is not, I mean, they are here to help you. And most of the time they are nice people. So.
They really do have your best interest at heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well that's the end of those questions.
Yay. Do you have any more questions for me? Okay.
My turn?
Yes, your turn.
Okay.
Bye. All right, this is North's interview.
Yay!
Okay. Let's start. So, have you ever struggled with your mental health?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a lifelong thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole...
It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
See, did you ever receive an official diagnosis for any disorder?
Yes, I have 3 official diagnoses. I have rapid cycling bipolar 2, GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, and MDD, major depressive disorder.
Mm-hmm. And are there any disorders you believe you've had, even if you were never diagnosed by a professional?
Before I got my bipolar diagnosis, I'd kind of always, or not always, but like at least the last couple of years since becoming an adult, I've kind of suspected it. But then I went and I saw my psychiatrist, and that was kind of like that. And I always have known that even before I got my diagnoses, I always kind of knew that there was something like fundamentally wrong. Like this is not how normal people are supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
Is kind of how it always has felt to me.
Mm-hmm. Did you feel that more with like your bipolar symptoms or like depression symptoms?
Definitely my depression symptoms, because my bipolar symptoms didn't really start emerging until like I hit adulthood, and that was kind of it was definitely like adult onset.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
But like as my depression and anxiety symptoms started when I was like 10, 11, 12 is kind of when it started like creeping up.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, do you believe you still have, or well, we can skip that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I do have all of them.
All of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, how have your disorders affected you?
A lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
It has been, depression makes me just like, and of course that comes along with bipolar, but I don't want to do anything. I isolate myself is one of the thing that I'm really bad about, especially when I get in a depressive episode, is I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to do anything. All I want to do is just lay in bed on my phone all day. Mm-hmm. And I can't, like, it's so difficult to make myself get up and try to do homework or do anything productive, like, let alone try to, it's hard to get myself up to eat and to shower, let alone, like, even if I feel disgusting, it's like,
yeah.
even if like let alone like try to take care of myself at a baseline level, let alone try to do anything productive in that vicinity.
I totally get you. Let's see. What are all the symptoms that you've noticed or experienced?
So with depression, I've had suicidal thoughts from a young age, and it's kind of always been like it isn't even on medication. It has never gone away. It is always kind of like a little like voice in the back of my head that's always kind of like, if there's like a minor inconvenience or something, it's like you should kill yourself. If it's like, and it's never been like active. It's never been like, I have a plan, I'm going to do it, this is the day. Like, it's never been like active ideation, but it's always just kind of been like a little tickle in the back of my brain. With anxiety, the symptoms are a lot more, with depression, they're more negative symptoms, like I don't want to do anything, I'm feeling just kind of blah about everything. But with anxiety, it is like, before I was on medication, it was extremely intense, and it got to the point where like I was just feeling nauseated all the time. I couldn't eat, like, especially so I was on meds for a while, and then my senior year after I graduated, I kind of, or like right before I graduated, I kind of went off the rails. I stopped taking my antidepressants cold turkey, and then once I started college, my freshman year, my anxiety was like so horrible to the point like it was genuinely impacting my ability to function. Like I couldn't eat because I was so anxious. I was engaging in some really, really bad disordered eating habits, disordered eating behaviors. Oh, and kind of going back to one of the first questions, like I used to think that I definitely kind of qualified for some symptoms of bulimia, but like I never really got I never got a diagnosis. I never kind of sought help for that. It was more so like it was bad like when I was 15, 16 during COVID, and then it got bad again when my freshman year of college, because I was seeing all of these people around me. I'd always been self-conscious. I've always had body image issues, and I was seeing all of these people around me, and I was perceiving them as smaller than me, better than me, more popular than me, more normal than me, more able to make friends, do things that I just felt like kind of like a fish out of water with. Oh, and then my bipolar symptoms. It's kind of my bipolar symptoms kind of present more as like depressive episodes, which like that's kind of run of the mill. But my hypomania presents as not having more energy. I don't get like grandiose. I don't get like kind of more hallmark symptoms of hypomania. Mine presents as insomnia and like agitated energy, agitation, and like extreme irritability, which I know that I mentioned that in class, and Dr. Lardy said that it's more in line with bipolar 1, but like my hypomania is never like intense to the point where like I could get psychosis. It's never been to like that extent, but it just makes me extremely irritable, and to the point where I will like lash out at people, I'll get snippy, I will like, it's just like an agitated energy inside that just like it wants to lash out at somebody else.
Do you also experience like elevated creativity, anything like that?
Not necessarily elevated creativity, but I get more motivation to like do art, and like not necessarily to the point where it's like I'm gonna paint this giant.
I'm gonna paint my door in my room, and
I'm gonna like paint my whole room. I'm gonna paint this giant canvas. I'm gonna like do all this and this and this. It's more like I can like make a little necklace. I can draw a little picture. I can I can like actually work on the art that I make.
On my iPad.
Yeah,
that's perfect. Let's see, so when did your symptoms first start for each kind of disorder?
Depression and anxiety started definitely when I was like 11, I want to say. Like, it kind of started creeping in when I was 10. I started to kind of get like, be a little more anxious, more self-aware, more like just self-conscious. And then 11, when I got to middle school, just kind of like, that's when the spiral started happening.
Middle school is the worst.
First years of my life. Let's say that. Being 13 sucked. But it kind of started then, and I was having really bad anxiety and just like, I just felt weird. Like, I felt out of place. Like, I didn't fit in with all of my peers. I always just felt like to this or to that or to I just felt like I wasn't like everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. It's strange because you also, what I experienced with my anxiety, I kind of thought everyone wasn't thinking the same way I was. I'm like, I'm the only person thinking this way. I'm crazy. And then I was like, everyone's watching me all the time.
Exactly. Like, everyone's watching me, everyone's judging me, everyone thinks I'm an idiot, everyone thinks I'm like, which like is a little bit true in middle school. Everyone is watching you and everyone does think you're an idiot, but like,
but they're also so worried about themselves.
But also like they're also so worried about themselves in exactly that same capacity.
Mm-hmm. Because how many times do you think those things about your friends? Like,
never.
Yeah. I'm like, all those worries are just,
they're the little
worms.
Little brain worms that hate you.
Let's see. So, when did they become the most severe?
Definitely when COVID hit was like when my depression and anxiety were at the absolute worst. It was.
What year of school were you in?
Sophomore, when like we originally thought, oh, we're just gonna be off school for 2 weeks. And then it turned into the whole isolation, and then it was even worse because I had the option of going my junior year. I had the option of being virtual or in person, and I thought I chose being virtual because I thought I'm doing the right thing. I'm keeping myself safe. I'm keeping other people safe. But it just ended up causing more problems because I was having problems with school and my grades because it was the teachers were having to deal with online, like a class of Zoom kids while also dealing with their like in-person classes. So we were meeting at the same time, and we were like, basically they would put like all of us Zoom people up on the board and like, yeah. And we would like watch their lessons and stuff. And it was just kind of like, their focus was kind of obviously on the in-person learners, and we were just kind of like, almost like an afterthought.
Yeah.
So, and then I live out, when I still lived in Leavenworth, I lived out in the boonies, and I had crappy internet, and my school district also had crappy internet, so it was like kind of the perfect storm of me being alone at home. I have no siblings. I just have my parents. My mom was working. My dad was working. So I was just basically completely alone in my room. No one really to hold me accountable for doing my work in it. And I kind of got this like idea in my head that like that it would just all go away. Like, I didn't have to do my work. I didn't have to do like, I would just like avoid it and hope it would kind of go away. So my grades kind of dropped during that period, and what was I gonna say? And then I had this teacher who like made things 10 times worse, because even though the reason that I brought up the internet is because she said at one point that you have to say here when she calls your name, or you will be marked absent. And I didn't realize she said that because my internet something happened. I didn't hear it. And I didn't realize that I had to do that. And by like the third week of school, I had 10 unexcused absences from her class, even though I was there on that Zoom call, like, every single day. Every single class period.
Oh my goodness.
And...
That's ridiculous. Can't
it's
she
ridiculous.
just see you there?
Because I'm there, I have my camera on, and she still marked me absent. And it's like...
That's
ridiculous. Why are you teaching? You just hate kids at that point. Like, why would you be doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know that all of the, like, these are children. You are teaching children. You know that this is a hard time. You know that everyone is struggling. And, like, my mom ended up getting this nasty email from the vice principal saying that I was gonna have to, deal with truancy stuff. And it's like,
oh my goodness.
I'm not that kind of person to just, like, be skipping class. I've never been that kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whatever. But it was just, it was a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then for my bipolar symptoms, those really came to a head after I kind of moved out of the dorms and I started living in my apartment and trying to take care of everything. And when I was still with my boyfriend, it's like something that really triggers my irritability when I'm hypomanic like that is clutter and, like, things being not clean, things being dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that just, like, I grew up in a really cluttered house, so now I try to keep my space very clean, and when it's cluttered, it just, like, really triggers that agitated energy, and I feel like I'm gonna tweak out,
mm-hmm.
is kind of the, like, I just get insanely irritable, and I really have to keep myself in check because I'll end up snipping. I would end up snipping at Evan, and that was the main reason that I went to go get medicated and went to therapy, was because I was splitting on him which is also one of the symptoms that I had experienced, which normally is very in line with borderline personality disorder, but splitting is also something that's common in bipolar. And I would split on him, and things would be dirty, and it would be like, and I would just completely, it's like a switch would flip.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that, and I saw my dad in myself, because he is also exactly like that, and he's part of the reason that I had so much.
And he's also bipolar.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, he's also, well, not diagnosed, but, like, I can safely say that, I can pretty safely say that he is also bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just something that, like, I don't know, I saw myself becoming him when that switch would flip, and I was like, oh, no, something's got to change.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot be like that.
Yeah, I hear you. Let's see, so, how long did you have your symptoms before you saw someone, got diagnosed, or got treatment?
So when I didn't really start getting on meds until I was 14. When I was 14, so probably like 3.5, or 3-ish years, before I got medicated for my depression and anxiety. And that was, at 14, I started on Zoloft, and that didn't really do anything. Mm-hmm. It just kind of, I took it, didn't really do anything, and then...
How many milligrams?
I think 10, and then they bumped me up. And then I was like, this still isn't working, and then I switched to Cymbalta, which I started on 30 milligrams of Cymbalta, and that worked way too well. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize it was working too well. I thought it wasn't working because I was experiencing emotional blunting, and I just wasn't feeling anything. And I thought that was part of the depression. And then we bumped me up to 60 milligrams, and then I was still feeling really just like blah, nothing. And then he tacked on 5 milligrams of Abilify, which is a mild antipsychotic, but is also supposed to amplify the effects of your antidepressant. And that was just like, after the Abilify, it's for the only real side effect that I've ever had from antidepressants has been emotional blunting, and then Abilify, when I took it, made me nauseated. So like that was kind of like my line in the sand. I was like, this is making me sick. And I just quit cold turkey. Which was not a good decision. I was like 17, and I didn't tell my parents until I got to school in the fall.
I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah. Because I really could have gotten, that was really dangerous. I could have gotten serotonin syndrome and like died. But I'm good. I'm kind of like a tank in that respect. Like it doesn't, I take meds. Usually I don't get any of the side effects. I don't like,
if I skip even for like, or if I don't take it at the same like 4-hour window, I start to feel like absolute garbage.
Now that's me with my meds now, with my Lexapro now. But so and the reason that my depression and anxiety got so horrible, my eating disorder habits got so horrible my freshman year of college was because I was raw dogging it. I had no meds, no nothing, I didn't have very many friends. Well,
and freshman year is already so difficult.
Yeah, freshman year is difficult. I'm trying to navigate everything. I started out as a biology major, and I was taking really hard for me. I took bio and chem, and I've never been the best at science classes, and I'm really not sure why. I thought it was a good idea to go, like, I thought I could handle it, but I couldn't, and the weeding process did work, but... Yep. The weeding process worked.
Works very well.
But, after that, like, it got to the point, I remember I was walking up the stairs from Anschutz, and, like, my anxiety was so bad that my body just didn't want food. Like, I couldn't... And I was also engaging in actively harmful habits. Like, I was restricting, I wasn't eating, I was, like... I had stopped purging at that point, because I knew, like, that was really going to mess up my gut health.
And purging is...
when you make yourself throw up, basically. Or you can... That's the behavior that I engaged in, but you can also do it through diuretics, laxatives, or excessive exercise. But I didn't really... I kind of stopped purging at that point, but I still wasn't eating, and, like, anxiety made it to the point where, like, my body just didn't want food. I just felt horrible all the time. But it got to the point where I remember I was walking up, it was, like, October, it was right before fall break, and it was right after fall break, and I remember I was walking up the stairs from Sunnyside Avenue or something Avenue to up the stairs to Anschutz. And I get to the top of the stairs, and my vision starts, like, going in and out, and I'm seeing stars, and I'm having heart palpitations, and I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, something's gotta change. I need to go get medicated. I need to go get some sort of help. And that was kind of like my moment of, I need to seek help.
Yeah. Well, that's frightening.
Yeah, that was really scary, and I was like, oh, I'm done.
Have your symptoms ever improved?
Massively, and really thanks to medication. Medication has made my symptoms much more manageable, and then therapy to help with actually managing my symptoms. And it's just been, and I know, like, medication for a lot of people doesn't work the way that it has for me, but it really has, like, massively helped. And I think that's truly because what is in my brain is a chemical imbalance.
That's true. Let's see. So, how has the disorder and the symptoms affected your ability to function? And what areas have been affected the most?
Really, it has been, like, functioning, like, it never really got in the way of school because I kind of always sacrificed my mental health for school. School has always been the school and work I've always sacrificed everything for school and work, and that's kind of always been, like, I've never let, except for my junior year, but aside from that, I'd never let school falter because like if I did, then I was gonna get my ass beat by by my parents.
Yeah.
And like, but really just like my like social life had suffered the most when I was really, really deep in my depression because I would just isolate myself. I wouldn't want to go outside. I wouldn't want to talk to anybody. I wouldn't like text anyone back. I would just sit and doom scroll for hours and just like not.
Yep. God, it's so hard too because we all have a working phone addiction, and it's just makes everything so much worse.
Exactly.
It was a lot better when I had YouTube on my 3DS and I'd have to crack it open.
Yeah, I had it on my iPad. I still think to this day I was the original iPad kid because I had a first gen iPad that I got for Christmas when I was 5, and I had it in the blue, like what iPad kids have today. I had the blue case with the handle on it. It was like,
that's awesome.
It was the OG.
Let's see. So, what treatments have you received? And can you help me get a detailed picture of what your treatment experience was like for you and how it affected you?
I've been through a lot of different meds, which I kind of already detailed, but like currently I'm on, well, okay, started with Zoloft, didn't do anything. Cymbalta worked way too well. Abilify made me nauseated. And now after that I was put, like my freshman year after I was like, something's gotta change. I went to my doctor and he put me on 10 milligrams of Lexapro, and that was like that was my end-all be-all. It completely stopped my like really horrible debilitating anxiety. That was like my light in the dark, and everything was just kind of uphill from there. And then I was on that, and I didn't really go to seek help for my bipolar symptoms until about November of this fall. October, November, and my psychiatrist put me on, I started out on 25 milligrams and gradually increased by 25 milligram increments until I got to 100, and now I'm on 100 milligrams of Lamictal, which that has also been like another huge light in the dark. Like it's just basically, it just, the way that my psychiatrist described it, it makes people feel smoother, and it makes my episodes feel smoother, and I feel like it's kind of like cutting off those super high highs and super low lows. So excuse me, and it is a mood stabilizer. Like I feel much more stable, and like I've noticed that my irritability is much more manageable, and I'm able to catch myself. Even if I am irritable, I catch myself before I split on somebody, and I'm able to reel that in, which has been really, really helpful.
That's awesome. And do you feel like your healthcare professional was helpful?
Immensely. My primary care doctor, who has kind of done most of my antidepressant stuff, his name's Jared. Love him to death. He's really awesome, but he just will kind of do whatever you tell him to do. So he's really awesome in that regard. Love him, and he's very, very compassionate. And so is my psychiatrist, psychologist / therapist. Which, by the way, Janice Meyer, love you to death. Shout out to her.
Amazing.
So if you need a recommendation for anyone to recommend to somebody else, Janice Meyer does telehealth, office based in Leavenworth. Really amazing lady. And she's from Alive Family Psychiatry. So, doctor will already write that one down. But she is really compassionate, and she's just really, really helping with my bipolar symptoms.
Awesome. Let's see. So you felt a connection with them? They actually cared about you? So, you've been in therapy?
Yes.
And how long have you been in therapy?
So it's kind of been on and off. I had never gone to a real therapy session until I reached out my freshman year and started going to CAPS. And that was really, CAPS was really wonderful. And they were really and I did 3 or 4 sessions with the lady at CAPS, and she was really wonderful. But then something happened, like I had to move an appointment, cancel it, and I just kind of didn't reschedule, and I didn't really go back until I started seeing my new psychologist who's been helping me with bipolar.
Gotcha. And is that through telehealth?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real, I vastly prefer telehealth, just because it's like, it's so easy. I can put up my laptop and I can just like,
I have, my psychologist is on telehealth, and then counselor was over Zoom, or not very, no, I don't know if it's against guidelines, but also FaceTime sometimes, which...
But you know what? Hey, if you gotta get an appointment in, you gotta get it in.
But, yeah, I like telehealth a lot.
It's just very convenient.
Which I'm excited to, when I go home, to actually see them in person. So, let's see. So, you have been prescribed psychiatric medications. We already talked about side effects. Have you encountered any stigma or negative assumptions about your disorders?
Mostly from my parents, like regarding school. I'm lazy, or which like, now they've gotten really, they're a lot better than they used to be. My mom is very supportive of me in school, and even if I've gotten B's in some of my classes, she still acknowledges that I worked really hard and that she's still proud of me, so like that's really nice. But when I was in high school and still living with them, it was like, I'm lazy, or I'm not applying myself, or I'm not doing this, that, or the other. And with bipolar, I haven't really experienced any stigma of that yet, which saying yet because I know that I will at some point in my life, but like, really it's only been I haven't really seen stigma per se, like to my personal disorder, like personally, but it's mostly stuff that I see on the internet.
I've heard like a lot of guys will go out of their way to not date like bipolar women,
or or say like you're bipolar, and it's just like you're kind of emotional, or it's like bipolar can be used,
and they immediately call you bipolar.
And it's like
people just throw around the term.
Yes, people just throw around the term and have no idea what they're talking about. Is the most like stigmatized thing that I've really seen.
Have you seen like nothing surrounding your anxiety or anything like that? Have people called you like shy or introverted?
Yes, yeah, shy and introverted and like quiet. And
did you used to be called like the quiet kid? Yeah.
Yeah, which now like, and I up until pretty recently I used to think that I was fairly quiet, but now it's just like I feel like I've grown so much more out of my shell.
Yeah. I feel like,
and I used to like not really, I used to be really anxious about talking to people because I just didn't, I was always self-conscious about like, and nervous about having conversations with people, and like, because I was always scared that they were gonna judge me, or like, and I just never knew what to say, was kind of my thing with that. I just didn't, I'm just never sure, or I was never sure just what to say, what to talk about, and I was always scared of, silences always made me anxious, even if it was comfortable with the other person, because it was just like they're not saying anything. What's like, are they mad at me? Are they like, or did I say something? Did I do something wrong? Did I, stupid spiral.
Yeah. That's a lot of, I found joy in having like friends that I can sit in silence with and like, just play music on a car ride, and I just don't have to think for a second, because I would always have to think a million times before I said something.
Yes.
What do you wish more people understood about your disorders, and is there any advice or insight that you'd like to share with others going through something similar?
I wish that people understood that with depression in particular, it is not like, not even just depression, like I see all of these people who are mental health advocates on the internet, who are always like advocating for mental health, like we like take care of your mental state, like blah blah blah. But then like the second that they see like the ugly side of depression, where you can't get up to brush your teeth, you haven't brushed your teeth in weeks, you haven't showered in days, you haven't like done this, you have like hygiene becomes a chore, and then the second that those symptoms arise, they will just they call people disgusting for not being able to brush their teeth, or like, and I also wish that people would not throw around the word bipolar so often, because it really does change the conception of that word, because bipolar is not daily mood swings, it is not emotional volatility, it is not used to describe mood swings. Bipolar is month to year-long episodes of depression and mania. It's not just like, and of course there's rapid cycling and ultra rapid cycling, but that, like,
does that mean you cycle your
episodes cycle faster than like, because episodes with, or like bipolar episodes can be like as long as, like with regular bipolar, it can be as short as I think a month is the criteria to 6 months or a year, when rapid cycling can be a month or a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And but just like, it's really frustrating when it's used to describe daily mood swings, or like it being used as an insult, or like really anything in that kind of capacity.
Gotcha.
And advice or insight, really the main thing is just like, if you're feeling that, reach out. Like, your healthcare providers are there to help you. There is never anything wrong with getting help, and that, like, realizing that is the first step.
Yeah.
And just recognizing that you have a problem is the first step. And nothing has helped me more than reaching out and getting help and getting medicated. And also, don't be afraid of meds. Don't be afraid of being medicated, because it really has been like, I probably would not be here right now if I was not put on meds, because it was that bad at a point. So.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you for listening.
Yay!
Yay!
Interview concluded.